All right, so in this video, we're going to take a look at linear word problems. And this is probably something you guys have seen a lot, but I still see a lot of students struggle with this. So with linear word problems, it's when we have a direct relationship between two variables, okay? So between two variables, and it's a linear relationship as well. So as you increase one thing, the other one increases or decreases at a constant rate. All right, so when we're setting these up, we're still setting it up very similar to y equals mx plus b. All right, it's very similar to just being able to write the equation of a line with some given information. It's just now, all right, the information that's being given to us, it's not necessarily telling us this is the point x comma y. This is the slope. This is the y-intercept. We need to be able to read and interpret the problem in order to figure out what exactly they're giving us and what each thing represents. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. So here in this first example, we have suppose that the water level of a river is 34 feet and that it is receding at a rate of 0.5 feet per day. Write an equation for the water level L after d days. So in how many days will the water level be 26 feet? So we always want to start these problems off just by trying to write the equation. So we know that the water level is 34 feet. Okay, it's 34 feet right now, and then it's receding at a rate of 0.5 feet per day. So one really important thing to note is that slope is always going to be a rate of change. All right, slope represents some sort of rate of change. Okay, so in this case, it tells us that it's receding at a rate of 0.5 feet per day. So our slope is probably going to be, well, receding means it's going down, is negative 0.5. Okay, and then it tells us that the water level of a river right now is 34 feet. So if it's 34 feet right now, 34 feet before any days have passed by, that's our initial value. Okay, so our initial value is our y-intercept. So the y-intercept is represented by some sort of initial value. Okay. So in this case, our initial value or our y-intercept is 34. So my b is 34. All right, so now we have write an equation for the water level after d days. Well, I know the water level is changing based on the amount of days that have passed by. So L is going to be where my y normally would be. Okay, that water level changes based on the d days that have passed by. And then it's just negative 0.5 days and then plus my initial value plus that y-intercept, which is 34. So it makes sense. If I plug in 0 for D, I'm going to get out 34 for L. Okay, well, I know in 2 days, it's going to have gone down a total of 1 foot, so I should get 33 out. Yep, I would. So this is definitely my correct equation. And now let's just answer, in how many days will the water level be 26 feet? Well, I know that water level is equal to 26. I'm just trying to find out how many days have passed by. So I use this equation, and now I just need to say, okay, if I plug in 26 for L, what is going to be my D? How many days have passed by? So 26 equals negative 0.5D plus 34. I'll subtract 34. I get negative 8 equals negative 0.5D. Okay, here, if I'm dividing by negative 1/2, that's the same as multiplying by negative 2. So I divide by negative 1/2, and I get D equals 16. So my answer is after 16 days. Okay, after 16 days, the water level will be 26 feet. All right, this next question. A bus company took a tour bus on the ferry when there were 30 people aboard. The ferry charged the bus company $180. The following week, the bus had 50 people on board, and the ferry charged them $220. And then it asks us a couple of questions. Well, all right, let's just understand what's going on. Obviously, when they increase the number of people, the cost also increased. So they went up about 20 people and their cost increased. So we know that they must be charging some rate per person. Okay, they're charging some rate per person, and then they might also be charging, and here it says in quotation, some base rate, just for the bus to come on the ferry at all. They're going to charge some rate, and then for every additional person, for every person that's on that bus, they are going to increase the charge. All right, so what really does this, how can we solve this at this point? Well, we know if there's 30 people aboard, $180. We know 50 people on board, $220. All right. And so obviously with the number of people, as the number of people changes, the rate changes. So I could say, well, the number of people is similar to my X variable, and then the charge is going to be my Y variable. So they're really giving me 2 points here. They're saying, well, the point 3180 is on the graph, and the point 50, 220 is on the graph. Okay, and now we're just trying to figure out what is the slope, and then we'll write the equation of the line. So my slope is 220 minus 180 over 50 minus 30. Okay, and remember that up top is cost. In the denominator is the number of people. Okay. So we get 40 over 20, which gives us 2. So that's telling me the cost per person is $2. The cost per person is $2. All right, and yeah, that makes sense here, right? We can see, oh, well, if you increase the number of people by 20, the charge goes up by 40. Well, all right, that makes sense. Okay, and so we've answered this question, right? We know how much each person costs. Now we just need to find what's the base rate. Well, y equals mx plus b. I know m is 2, so I could say y equals 2x plus b. My goal is to just solve what is that b now. So let's plug in one of these points. I'll just use the point 30, 180. So it costs $180 for 30 people. So obviously for those 30 people, it costs $60. And then we can just subtract that from 180 to get what the flat rate is. So subtract 60, right? We get b equals 120. So 120 is going to be my flat rate. My flat rate is $120. And then we know we could say that the cost is equal to 2 times P I'll use for the number of people plus 120. All right, and we can specify what these mean. We'll say C is cost, and then P is the number of people. All right. Hope that this helped you guys out, and best of luck as you work through these word problems.